to ours. Those economic systems are not necessarily driven by your level of intellect or competence or cognitive ability. Of course, you have to be smart enough to survive, but you don't have to be the smartest of the pack. They're also not driven by your level of competence, because there are people who are much more competent than you who don't have necessarily the same access. What they're driven by tends to be access to power. So it's about connection, not competence. And they also tend to be driven by access to massive state-funded opportunities that can generate instant wealth for you. Instant wealth. So in those markets, all you got to do is be close enough to somebody in power, get access to an amazing opportunity that generates you instant wealth tomorrow, and you're sorted, you're fixed. And one of the ways you know this is true is usually what people who live in those markets do is the minute they generate wealth and they get free cash flows from that wealth, they will externalize the capital. They'll take their money and they'll take it out of the country. You'll very rarely see guys who make money in those countries reinvest in those countries. That's why there are very few people who do government tenders that do venture capital. Because why would I take my money that I'm earning in a government contract and invest it in a high-risk alternative asset instrument that is highly illiquid and where I might lose my money? I'm not going to do that. Why? Because in that market and in that space, and listen to this, when we were talking about this, like, my mind shifted. The view of the future is different. See, if I'm living in a market driven by competence and free markets, I tend to take a view about the future based on my own competence and ability, because it's driven by competence and a free market. So I go, if I'm competent and I can compete, I believe the future is good. But if I live in a market that's driven by connections, then I don't know what the future holds, because if the person I'm friends with loses their seat or loses power or is out of office, I don't know where things are going to go. So what am I going to do? The minute I have money, I'm going to externalize it. How do you know this is true? Look at who buys the properties in Switzerland. Look at who buys the properties in Monaco. Look at who's putting money in Liechtenstein. Who are these guys? And where's that money coming from? So how is it that the money coming from a country is not being reinvested in that country, but the people of that country are looking for foreign direct investment? I'm confused here. So we're sitting here going, foreigners invest in our own country, but when we're generating money ourselves in our own countries, we're not reinvesting it in our own countries. We're taking that money and externalizing it. We're putting it in other countries, other economies. We're buying homes in Lyon. We're buying homes in the south of France. We're buying homes in Liechtenstein. You're putting your money in pounds. And if you're really, really conservative, you're going to take some of your money and put it in gold. But what you're not going to do is take your money and put it in a new business in that same economy, because you don't know what the future looks like. We were just having this conversation. I was like, boom, my mind just shifted. And I was like, oh. Then, and this is the final note, and I'll leave this with you guys. Check this out. The cost of all of this is that top talent leaves. And the reason top talent leaves is because top talent wants to live in an economy driven by competence, not connections. So if I'm top talent, if I was top 10% of my class, all of my schooling career, and I'm top 10% of my performance quota, all of my professional career, but I don't have a real chance of generating long-term wealth because of the system, I will leave. And I will go to an environment that's going to leverage my assets. Boom. So where do you find, go to Canada, go to the US. Some of the smartest bankers are Nigerians. Like some of the smartest people in financial services in the UK, Nigerians. Some of the smartest people working in technology in Malaysia, Kenyans. Some of the smartest people working in construction, engineering in Australia, South Africans. Some of the smartest farmers working in Eastern Europe and the Middle East, Zimbabweans. Why? Because top talent will go where it's going to get rewarded and where its asset will be leveraged for its own personal benefit. Boom.